Hello, my dear INFJ entrepreneur friends. Welcome back to another video. Or if you're listening to this on the podcast, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm going to bust your perfectionism myths because, we say INFJs, we are perfectionistic and we want things to be perfect. And I'm going to bust that myth today. I don't know why I say myth. I'm going to bust that myth today and talk to you about what perfectionism to me is and how you can get over it. So perfectionism for me, and I know perfectionistic people, they actually care through and through for things and how they look and how they are being perceived. I have this friend who is an INFJ as well, and the way she is perfectionistic is insane, to the point where she hires people to do her branding and it's not perfect enough. Like, if only she does it, okay, is when it's acceptable and is when she actually puts things out there and posts things. And that to me is perfectionistic to the point where everything is airbrushed all the time. Everything, every word, everything has a perfect and very, very well thought out. So perfectionism on the surface of a branding, for example, can look very polished and very nice and really well thought out. That's perfectionism to me. Now, what the INFJ thinks is perfectionism, which is really not perfectionism. It's something else. I'll tell you in a second. So what we think is perfectionism is the following. We are like, okay, I cannot film a video that I want to grow my brand or my marketing or my personal brand or business. I cannot do it because I only have a shitty phone and I want it to be a perfect camera that I can use to record it. Okay? That's not perfectionism. That's conditional well-being. Okay? That's kind of how I like to say. Like, it's I would like to say, like, that's like you want things to be perfect, but not really perfect. You want certain things to happen in order for you to be taking that action. So you're making an action on condition being met. So it's not even a condition being perfect. It's condition being met. Like, okay, so I did this spiral, like my laptop. I'm like, I cannot be posting videos because my laptop is not fast enough. Okay, I got myself a laptop. Like, okay, but I cannot post videos because my internet connection is not fast enough. It would upload very slowly. Yeah. Okay. I cannot do this. I cannot do that until this and this is met. Then I can. And because then we are waiting for that condition to arrive, how we want it, is we are delaying the action. So for me, perfectionism with INFJs is action avoidance. 1000%. Perfectionism is action avoidance, and we do conditional. It's like, I don't even know, conditional well-being, conditional conditions being met in a very specific way, conditions being met. Because can you argue with me that I have a slow laptop? Can I still work on the laptop that I have? Yes. Can I still upload the content with a slow internet connection? Would it? Yes, it takes longer, but I can, right? And as I'm improving, as I'm going, as I'm progressing, can invest into a better camera condition or lighting or whatever in order for me to produce the type of content that I wish to produce. Can we argue that there are shitty videos out there circulating on TikTok that were filmed by box out of it, not even a phone, like a really, really shitty quality, that are completely viral and millions of people share and love them? Yes, we can. So it's not really the imagined, and again, we do this all the time with other things. I'm just giving you this example because that's how it was for me. So can we argue with that? Can we argue what we have at our disposal is actually perfectly enough? at this point. Like, I don't care if that's what you have, let's go. Like, and then you can say, well, I cannot do this. I cannot do this because I don't have a website. Okay, are there people out there who operate perfectly fine with a Facebook page? Yes, there are millions of people who don't have a website. That's why we have web designers who do the things for people. You don't have to have a website to do business, right? You can even go out there, walk out to people and offer the services that you provide to people. So always, okay, let's just reverse engineer. Like, let's think about, you're not perfectionistic, you're action avoidant. And you're placing imaginary conditions to be met in order for you to be taking the actions. And this is so ridiculous because it's really like step by step by step. Like, I cannot do this until I get there. Okay, now that I'm here, I cannot do this until I get to there. It's actually not true. Like, you can do all those steps, you're just avoiding because you think it's perfectionism and you kind of hide behind it and you click on this video and watch this video to get over it because, but it's just your fear. You're just afraid to do things and you are not ready to get out there. You're not ready to put yourself out there. You're not ready to admit that even you're afraid. And you are just using these action avoidance strategies because let me tell you, like, real perfectionism is it's not just like attention to detail into like how my Instagram posts look like. It's really across the board. It's the pictures, how they look. It's very meticulous, the writing side. And I am like messy sometimes. Like, I'm messy. Some emails that I write, there is mistakes, right? I'm messy with my social media posts sometimes. Like, there's typos or issues or grammar mistakes. Like, I'm very messy, yet I have this conditional, like, thinking I'm perfectionistic. I'm not. And you are not either, okay? So unless you are my friend, you're like my friend who is like across the board, like everything is in her house, to her, the way she dresses, what she puts out there, like every single thing is so clean and meticulous. It's not smudgy, it's not messy. Like, then you are a perfectionist, really. But if you're not a perfectionist and you're like, I need to have this condition met in order for me to be like, oh, then you're just action avoidant. And then look at that, the action avoidance, and let's look at the condition being met, right? Like, and then we do this with other things. Like, when I live here or when I move here, I'll be happy. That's like conditional well-being. Like, now we venture into, when I get the perfect guy, I'm gonna be happy. Then I'm gonna be this. This is exactly avoiding responsibility for the now and avoiding feeling the fear in the now. That's just like, I feel so much resistance, and you can watch my resistance video. I feel so much resistance that it's easier for me to just call it on something else and call myself and diagnose myself as a perfectionist instead of just thinking like, okay, I think I'm avoiding the actions and looking deeper into what it is that you're doing. And how I catch this, because this is really hard to overcome, especially if you are notoriously doing this in so many aspects of your life. It's not just even your business, but you're so used to be like, when I get there, I'll be this. And I had this with beauty as well. Like, and it's silly. Like, back in high school, I thought, once dye my hair blonde, this guy is gonna magically fall in love with me. Or once I have perfect teeth and white teeth, then I'm gonna be this. And this is false in so many ways, because it doesn't mean that, it kind of diminishes the version of you that's in the now, and like, okay, this is not good enough, like this is what you have. It's unless it's enhanced, it's not acceptable, and it's bullshit. It's really is bullshit. It's that version of you is more than able. It's just that you are the one that is putting all these imaginary conditions on being met for you to move forward. And sometimes, and I really went crazy, and I'm going to give you my laptop example in this way. I'm like, I need this particular laptop or else. Like, if I can't get this particular type, I will not be able to do nothing. So sometimes it's so silly. And yet you see people taking actions with whichever laptop they work on, with whichever environment and whichever imperfection. And we are on the sidelines waiting for the conditions to be met. How do we catch this? First of all, let's like reflect that this is happening. Like, I want you to look at patterns when you feel like, okay, this is maybe me being perfectionistic, like I'm just very particular, like or let's just examine those areas in our life. Like, let's think about what are the areas of our life when we are having these conditions being met, like in our businesses. Do I have to be doing this for a year? Like, do I have to have a website? Let's just look at those and ask the questions that are there people who don't have this? Or are there people who don't have a website or this particular brand and they're still out there crushing? Are there people who are blonde, blue-haired, skinny, fat, whatever, and still get out there? Are there people who are like, and I want you to think like, are there people? That's kind of how it is. And just fill in the blank of you and what you think is your limitation. Like, are there people successful even though? So I really want you to, even if you want, you can sit down and write it. Are there people who are in my condition who are still overcome this? Or they crushing it, or they post with their phones, they don't have a website, they don't have this, they don't have that. Like, are there people out there who just walk into a business and then do you have clients tomorrow? Or they get started even though they don't have a lot of funds. Or they can find, other people who can do things without investors. That's another thing. Like, I need investors first. Like, other people who can start something without investors. Again, are there people is your magical question. And the more you will dig into like, well, there are people who don't have this laptop and they crush it. Well, there are people who don't have perfect teeth who crush it. There are people who don't have this and that and this car and blah, blah, and they are still doing it. So it's not about the thing. It's about the doing it. You're scared of doing it. And so recognize that that's the case. And accept that humans are not perfect by any means. Leaders are not perfect either. So imperfect leaders, it's a human thing, right? So I have yet to see a business owner who were perfect. Even though my friend is, again, very meticulous, I know her behind the scenes, I know how messy she can be emotionally, and I know how sometimes on the surface things look good and sometimes she isn't always, 100% all the time in her business either. So imperfect leaders lead, and that's kind of the reality of the things. I am not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't stop me from filming this video right now and talking to strangers on the internet or in my own business. I've been running a podcast for 3 years, guys. Do you think if I'm thinking out there like, okay, no one would want to come to my podcast. Like, no one would want to be a guest. How do you think, like, unless I have 100,000 downloads on my podcast, I cannot invite this people or that people or, I have invited cool people that are way out of my league to come to my show because I was, I knew how to ask them and I asked them and they'd say yes. So I'm really I don't want you to get into this like, unless I have this and unless I have that, I'm missing out. I must wait until those conditions are here. The skinny body, the perfection, the beauty, and the money. Yeah. It's, it's time to get creative and work with what you have. And I'm very, very sure that you have things at your disposal right now that you can get started with or you can continue to work with without doing the other thing. Okay? So let's focus on those. I really hope that this was helpful for you. I'm sorry if I bursted your perfectionism bubble. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already in the INFJ Entrepreneurs Facebook community. It's a free community. We meet every single month for our virtual hangout. You can look at the link in the description down below and join our group, or you can look up INFJ Entrepreneurs on Facebook and join us there. Thank you so much for listening or watching if you're on YouTube. Don't forget, drive over fear, progress over perfection. You see, this is something that it's completely intentional. I do it all the time because of that reason. Okay, so let's keep progressing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here. Bye, guys.